Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashta Prayeshva Bhadresho Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishne Swadhamo Bhagate Dharmajnanadibhisaha Kalaunashtadrishamesha Puranarko Dhunodita. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 25, Texts 4 and 5 we'll try to cover today. So, kindly repeat. Yatha adridhaihi karamamaihi kratubihi nam nao nibhaihi vidyam anvikshikim hitva titirshanti bhava arnavam yatha dridhai karmamayai kratubhirnama nao nibhaihi vidyaman vikshikim hitva titirshanti bhavarnavam. Anyone else? Yathadrhaihi karmamayaihi kratubhirnama naunibhaihi vidyaman vikshikam vitva titirshanti bhavarnavam.
Vidyaman vikshikim hitva titirshanti bhavarnavam. Ekadridhai karmamai Kratubhirnamano nibhai Vidyaman vikshikim hitva titirshanti bhavarnavam.
Ladies. Yatha dridhai karmamayaihi kratubhirnama naunibhaihi vidyaman vikshikim hitva titirshanti bhavarnavam. Yatha dridhai karmamayaihi kratubhirnama naunibhaihi vikshikim hitva yatha as adridhaihi which are inadequate karamamayahi based on fruitive activity kratubhihi by ritual sacrifices nam in name only naunibhaihi which serve as boats. Vidyam, knowledge. Anvikshikim, spiritual. Hitva, abandoning. Titirashanti, they try to cross beyond. Beyond, yeah. Bhava Arnavam, the ocean of material existence. Translation: their taking shelter of Krishna is just like the foolish attempt of men who abandon transcendental knowledge of the self and instead try to cross over the great ocean of material existence in the false boats of fruitive ritual sacrifices. Please repeat. Their taking shelter of Krishna is just like the foolish attempt of men who abandon transcendental knowledge of the self and instead try to cross over the great ocean of material existence in the false boats of fruitive ritual sacrifices. There's no purport here, but Sridhar Swami has said a few things which we can just summarize and quickly move on to the next verse. Adridha, adridhaihi, he says, means asamarthaihi, incapable. Normally when we hear the word dridha, what does it mean? Yeah, firm, strong. Dridhavrata. But here it means, well, capable. If you're strong, you're capable. Karma mayahi means kriya nivartyahi. Activities, primarily based on such fruitive activities. Nama no nibhayehi. Nama matrena ya nao iti vyavahriyate tad satrishaihi. Means nama no nibhayehi. By taking shelter of something that you would think was a boat, but it's just a name only, these sacrifices. Nama matrena. Something like that. So, anvikshikim atmanu smriti rupam. Normally when we hear the word anvikshiki, anybody know what is anvikshiki? It means logic, nyaya. Normally when we hear this word we think of nyaya, but you're not being reasonable, in other words. This is the implication. But here, Sridhar Swami says, Atmanu smriti rupam. His logic is in the form of remembrance of who we actually are. Not the body, but spirit, soul. Okay? Jiva Goswami says, just as foolish people try to cross material existence by sacrifices which give temporary results, that's how he takes adridhaihi, temporary. In other words, not firm because it's temporary. What does Krishna say about that in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita? What's real and what's false, according to him? If it's temporary, it's fake. If it's forever, then it's real. So he says adridhai therefore means fruitive rituals which only give temporary results. So the cowherds took shelter of Krishna and offended me. This is Indra thinking. This example shows that they acted unsuitably because of lack of discrimination. These are all Indra's thoughts. These are not true ideas, but this is what Indra thinks. Or he thinks, just as the foolish give up knowledge and try to cross over material existence by temporary sacrifices, the cowherds gave up Indra's worship and took shelter of Krishna and are trying to cross material existence. Because of his great anger, he didn't even complete his sentence. Indra. He's such a fool. He's thinking here, he's comparing worship of him, which is nothing but a temporary fruitive ritual, to transcendental knowledge, which takes you beyond all such temporary things. He's really, really befuddled here, Indra. Really mohita. So Jiva Goswami then continues, the real meaning, however, is this. Just as the devotees give up impersonal knowledge along with sacrifices and desire to cross material existence simply by taking shelter of Krishna, the cowherds gave up my worship and tried to cross material existence by taking shelter of him. So, Indra doesn't know this yet, but this is Jiva Goswami supplying what his words actually mean by the grace of Saraswati. She often does that. She makes the demons speak in such a way that what they say is true, but they don't know how. Actually, we fall into that category too sometimes, isn't it? We say things that are actually true, but we don't realize them. We have no understanding how true they are, because we're Kanishta Adhikaris. Anyway, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Vaishnavas desiring to cross the ocean of material existence take shelter of Krishna and reject the quest for Brahmagyan, that is, impersonal, knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Indra said, quote, these cowherd men have become absorbed in a sacrifice as a means to cross the ocean of material existence. The Vrajavasis have foolishly taken shelter of Krishna in hopes that he will reduce the ocean in the water of the material existence to that amount of water contained in a calf's hoof print. So Indra, even though he's read Srimad Bhagavatam, it would seem, he really doesn't understand it. He doesn't have a clue as to what these Vrajavasis are doing. He's completely mistaken. All right. Now, that's it for this verse. But let's move on to text number 5. You have it on the board? Okay, yeah, we can chant this then. Vachalam palisham stabdham Agyam panditamaninam Krishnam marsyam upashritya Gopa me chakrurapriyam. All right, we're just going to go ahead now. Continue with this. Vachalam means over talkative. Balisham means child, childish. Stabdham means arrogant. Agnyam, foolish. Panditamaninam, thinking himself wise. Krishnam, Krishna. Martyam, a human being. Upashritya, taking shelter of. Gopaha, the cowherds. May, against me. Chakruhu, have acted. Apriyam, unfavorably. Translation. And there's a BBT purport here by the servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So the translation, the cowherd men have acted inimically toward me by taking shelter of this ordinary human being, Krishna, who thinks himself very wise, but who is simply a foolish, arrogant, talkative child. Purport. According to Sridhar Swami, although the insults of Indra, through the insults of Indra, Goddess Saraswati is actually praising Krishna. The Acharya explains, Vachalam means one who can speak according to Vedic authority. Balisham means free from pretension, just like a child, guileless. Stabdham means that he bows down to no one, because there is no one for him to offer homage to. Agnyam means that there is nothing more for him to know, because he is omniscient. Pandita Maninam means that he is highly honored by the knowers of the absolute truth. And Krishnam means he is the supreme absolute truth whose transcendental form is full of eternity and ecstasy. Martyam means that although he is the absolute truth, he nevertheless appears in this world as a human being out of affection for his devotees. That's all quoted from Sridhar Swami. Now Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur continues, Indra wanted to rebuke Krishna as Vachalam, because the Lord had presented many audacious arguments in the line of Karma Mimamsa and Sankhya philosophy, even though he did not accept these arguments. Thus Indra called the Lord Balisha, foolish. Indra called him Stabdha because he had spoken boldly, even in the presence of his own father. Thus, although Indra attempted to criticize Sri Krishna, the Lord's transcendental character is in fact impeccable. And this chapter will demonstrate how Indra came to recognize the position of the Lord. Om Jnanatimirantasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Nama Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Madgavira Vigopala Swikuryat Kripaya Yadi Tadaiva Sampayaha Pitva Hrishye Yustat Priyajanaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare. So we've already heard from the BBT editors, very expertly summarized the arguments of Sridhar Swami about this verse. Tata Vachalam means Bahu Bhashinam. According to Indra, he speaks too much. Balisham means Shishu, Kuti. Pandita Maninam means Pandita Manyam. The Pandits all honor him. Ataha Stabdham means Avinitam. Iti Nindayam Yojita Pindrasya Bharati Krishnam Stauti. So in these words, Avinitam means you're not properly trained up, not really humble. Vinita, to be willing to be led by someone, that's what it really means. Nayati, the verb is need, nayati. Someone who leads is called, therefore Nayaka or Neta, same root. So Vinita, this is a past passive participle, means somebody who has been properly led, somebody who has been submissive enough to hear and humbly follow. This quality is required. Indra is so confused right now. He thinks that Krishna is avinitam. He thinks he's just a puffed up, unsubmissive little upstart. So, however, he says here that Iti nindayam yojita pindrasya bharati krishnam stauti. Goddess Bharati is actually praising Krishna. Who is the goddess Bharati? Saraswati, Bha. She shines. She makes your words shine. That is Bharati. So, Bhamati. Just like Brahmins, they have the surname Sharman, according to Shastra. We have given them other names, but Shastra only gives one name, that is Sharman. And Sharma also means to shine, because they illumine. They were supposed to do that. Okay. Tatahi vachalam shastrayonim. We know from Vyasadeva, don't we? What does he say about this? Anybody know what I'm thinking of here? Think books are the basis, and how to say that in Sanskrit. Books are the basis. This is from Vedanta Sutra. Nobody's read Vedanta Sutra, especially if you haven't even read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Shastrayonidvat, very common thing we hear in Prabhupada's books, means everything comes from Shastra. But Krishna himself is Shastrayoni. He's the source of the Shastras. So therefore it's natural that he's Vachalam. He has everything to say. There's nothing that he doesn't say. Balishamevam api shishuvat nirabhimaninam. This is the proper interpretation given by goddess Saraswati. The word balisham, which normally means childish, not childlike, childish. There's a slight difference in English. If you tell someone that he's childlike, it means he's very innocent. You tell someone that he's childish, it means he's immature. So this is Indra's intention, is like this. But here Goddess Bharati says, Shishuvan nirabhimaninam. He is without false pride. And that's true. Krishna cannot be with false pride. That's only for the stupid ones like us. Tiny, tiny parts and parcels who make mistakes and fall into this material existence. So he's very, very humble and free from pride, just like a child, Shishuvat. Stabdham. What does stabdham normally mean? You have this word in Tamil? Stabdham? Anyone? Is it there? Maybe not. Stabdham means stubborn. Anyasya vandyasya bhavad anamram. He's not humbled because, this was Indra's intention, but Goddess Saraswati says, there's no one else for him to pay obeisances to, so how can you accuse him of not being vinamra? Or namra means ready to bow down, actually, it's the literal meaning. Namra. Agyam nasti jnyo yasmat tam sarvajnam idyarthaha. Agyam means, according to Saraswati, there's nothing he doesn't know. Therefore, that's an indirect way, via negativa way of saying that he's actually knows everything. Sarvajna, omniscient. Pandita maninam brahma vedam bahumananiyam. Among those who have realized Brahman, and we talked about this last night, what are the qualifications? We have an English Bhagavad Gita here, we can look at some of them, if it's readily available. In chapter 18, just before Krishna tells us that bhakti is, the substrate of bhakti is Brahmabhuta Gyan, Brahmanubhuti, direct realization of Brahman, in other words, realization of your spiritual identity. Just before that, Krishna gives a list of what are the qualifications of somebody who actually has that realization. O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage, Brahman, the highest stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize. He says, being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination. That's dhriti, dritha, dhriti, we can say. And giving up the objects of sense gratification, because they do present themselves to you. We talked about this also last night. So if you're ready to walk away from that, that's what he's talking about here. Being freed from attachment and hatred, two sides of the same coin. One of them is aversion, the other one is attachment. This is the residual effect of engaging in sense gratification. The bhogis or the karmis, or even the vikarmis, they develop an attachment to sense gratification. Prasakta, bhoga ishvarya prasakta, they're called. Totally attached to bhoga and enjoying opulence. And the opposite side of that is the tyagis, the gyanis. They're averse. They don't want to touch it because actually they're threatened by it. That's the real problem. A devotee is not threatened by sense gratification. No attachment, no aversion. Neither one he has. So that's another qualification. To live in a secluded place, to eat little, to control the body, mind, and power of speech. That's really quite something. To control your body fully. How much is this possible to control the body? Stick your tongue out in a mirror and take a look at it and see if you can hold it still for even 1 second. You can't. But the program in Ashtanga Yoga, the first program is this only. Yama, niyama. Very strictly they meditate. You know, when they do this shavasana, the yogis, they're not just sleeping. Well, maybe they are, but ideally they're not sleeping. They're actually meditating consciously on each and every inch of their body. First, before you can control something, you have to be conscious of its existence. That's what they do. And they try to control every little, just like in those, in Kerala, those people who train for Kathakali dance, they have to spend hours and hours and hours just figuring out how to control the movements of their eyebrows. So this is self-control. This is bodily control, control of the body. Now, control of the mind, oh my God, that is a difficult thing in Kali Yuga. Even before Kali Yuga, Arjuna was complaining it's like trying to stop a hurricane, Tufan. So, and speech. Speech. Be careful about your speech. Once you say something, it's out there in the ether, it's not coming back, you can't, it's like an arrow. Girbana. Once you let an arrow fly, you can't recall it. It's going to hit some target. Maybe you miss, but if it hits its target, it has its certain effect. And if you didn't intend it, Prabhupada said, think 3 times before you speak. There are people like this. I've seen them. Very, very sober. So this is one of the qualifications of Brahman realization. Well, 3 of the qualifications. Controlling the body, mind, and power of speech. Who's always in trance. That means never forgets Krishna. Always remembers Krishna, never forgets Krishna. And who is detached. That comes automatically, as we said. Free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things. Devotees accept all kinds of things, but they don't accept material things. Because anything a devotee accepts, he turns it into something spiritual. Brahmarpanam brahmahavir brahmagno brahmanahutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhinam. That's there in chapter 4, text number 24, where Krishna says, in this sacrifice offered to Brahman, the ghee is Brahman, and the action of offering the ghee is also Brahman, the priest is also Brahman, the mantras are Brahman, everything. Sab kuch Brahman ho gaya. So, devotee is free from the acceptance of material things, because the definition of a material thing is that you're looking at it separately from Krishna. Bhayam dvitiya piniveshata syat ishadapetasya. When we've turned away from Krishna, then only we can perceive something that is non-Krishna. And there's no question of enjoying something independently of Krishna if you also see that it's Krishna. It will drive you crazy. That's why we see sometimes people, when they commit too many offenses, they actually go crazy. It's been seen. All right, so free from false proprietorship, that's the second cousin of this same principle, and peaceful. This is the only possible result of having this consciousness. You're peaceful. Nothing distracts you, nothing disturbs you. All things are passing. This was a prayer by the famous Catholic saint, Saint Teresa of Avila. She said like this: all things must pass. Knowing this, you can be peaceful in this world. So such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization. And then he says, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. We said last night, first symptom, you're happy, always. Na shochiti na kangshiti, you're not hankering after something that you don't have. Especially, you're not hankering after something that other people have. One famous scholar who later became a politician, she said, I'm not going to speak in Hindi, but this Sthai Bhava of all Indians is Irshya. Irshya. Irshya means envy. That is the Indian Sthai Bhav. You all know what Sthai Bhav is? I hope so. What's the Sthai Bhav? What is it? Your constitutional mood is called Sthai Bhava, according to Rupa Goswami. So this is our problem. Somebody else has something that you want, you start looking at it and contemplating like that. And that's a kind of an envy. So, but here we have na shochiti. You're not hankering or crying about something that you didn't want, that's forced upon you. Na kangshiti, you're not hankering after something that you do want but can't have. And therefore, sama, peaceful, as we said. Sarveshu bhuteshu, peaceful with respect to all other living beings. In other words, you're not envious. If you're attached to any mode of sense gratification, you're envious. By default, it's axiomatic. You can't avoid it. But Krishna says when we meet all these qualifications, then we come to the stage of Brahman. Now, of all those who have realized Brahman, Brahmavidam bahunmananiyam, the person who is the most respected by them, who is that? Who is it? Krishna. They're realized. Just like Shankaracharya, I don't think anybody in South India will argue that the best of the Brahmavadis or the best of the persons who are Brahman realized is Shankaracharya. But he says, Pranamata Govindam Paramanandam. Please worship Govinda. And so many other places he says similar things. Krishnam Sadananda Rupam. This means Krishna is that form which is always in ecstasy, Param Brahma. Martyam tathapi bhaktavatsalyena manushayataya pratiyamanam. He appears to be like a human being. The word is used. Indra is calling Krishna Martya. Martya means ordinary human, mortal. Really, it means mortal. What does mortal mean in English? Anybody know the actual literal meaning? You're going to die. Martya means mrityu. It probably comes from the same root as well, because so many words in English do come from Sanskrit. Just like we say pedal, right? What does pedal mean? Where you put your foot, pedestrian, walking, ped. It comes from pada, which is Sanskrit. Even not only English, so many cognate words even in Asian languages also. I always mention this, Zen, the word Zen. You heard Zen, right? Zen Buddhism, Z-E-N. Actually comes from the word dhyana in Sanskrit, but it has to go through a few incarnations before it gets to Zen. It goes through China, then it goes through Korea, then it comes to Japan, and finally it ends up as Zen, and we don't even make the connection anymore. It's possible for jivas to become like that also, isn't it? After too much association. Cheto darpana marjanam, they don't even recognize there's a mirror anymore. What to speak of figuring out how to clean it? You don't even know it's a mirror if it's that covered with dust. We were looking at all these sculptures outside. They're all covered with dust. I told Gokula Chandra, Are Baba, your lungs are full of that too. You have to be careful. Anyway, Martyam tathapi bhaktavatsalina. When Krishna becomes a Martya, Manushakriti, it's described in so many places in our Shastras. Why does he do this? He's not impelled by karma. Janma karma cha me divyam. Avajananti mam murhaha. Why does he do it? Bhaktavatsalya. Because he has love for his devotees, only for that reason. And even the pure devotees, when they come to this world, they're also not forced by karma or envy or any of the things that impel us. Why do they come here? Because they like the leelas that Krishna performs here only. There are certain pastimes that Krishna only performs here. You can't get them even in Goloka. Did you know this? He's born here only. And that's a wonderful, everybody loves Janmashtami. You get to paint the little footprints coming into your front door, and they did so many things. People celebrate Janmashtami. So that whole Leela is such a vast ocean of ecstasy, that Leela of Krishna's Janma, described in 3 or 4 chapters of the Bhagavatam, 10th canto. It is so deep. We could spend a whole month in a seminar trying to illumine every aspect of Janmashtami. And depending on our qualifications, yatha dhitam yatha matihi. Shukdev Goswami says, I'm speaking Bhagavatam according to whatever my intelligence allows, but my intelligence is shaped by what? Yatha dhitam, yatha adhitam. As much as I've studied. If you haven't studied, you're not going to have the intelligence to understand anything, what you're doing. And if you're walking around in an illusion about so many things, it's just a matter of time before you offend someone, and then you're out. That's why Krishna says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam siddhanam api. Kashtin mam veti tattvataha. Hardly one person, even out of those who are considered by others to be perfect, hardly one of them knows me, Krishna says. That's why you can't criticize. I mean, who are we to criticize? Everybody has flaws. But Krishna and his pure devotees, they don't have flaws. Krishna comes here out of Bhakta Vatsalya, and the devotees come here out of Krishna Vatsalya. Because only in this world are these leelas going on. Janma and karma. Chame divyam. His bala leelas only in this, not here, not in the spiritual world, only here. The devotees, Kavi Karnapur says, it's said in many places, but Kavi Karnapur says, I'm thinking of the Chaitanya Chandramrita Nataka. There he says that devotees there are devotees who prefer the Lord's pastimes in the material world to going back to Godhead. You asked them to go back to Godhead? Kaha karo Vaikunthe jai, Surdas said. So, these things are all indicated by Saraswati Amman, Bharati Amman. You can add another one to the list, right? Every 10 feet in Tamil Nadu, there's some kind of Amman coil. There we have Saraswati. Manushyataya pratiyamanam. It only seems like he's an ordinary human being, but he's not like that. Okay, so these are the things that Sridhar Swami has to say about text 5. I'm going to summarize Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur because the time is limited. This is Bhanu Swami's translation. Indra says Krishna is talkative because he had spoken speculatively and harshly about Karmavada. The lowly cowherds offended me. This is what Indra is thinking. I'm the Lord of the three worlds. He may be the king of the three worlds, but he's not the Lord of all planets. That spot belongs to Krishna only. Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. He can't create them. He can only inhabit them for some time. He's fake. Pardon me, Indra. But all these demigods, they're all temporary because their position is based. The position is eternal, that's a fact. But they're sitting in that seat. That's his temporary position. Indra himself, they're all going to be washed up sooner or later. How do you say Hogya in Tamil? Govinda. So, these lowly cowherds offended me, the Lord of the three worlds. His statement indicates his great pride. I mean, that's an understatement, is it not? Sridhar Swami explains that the words can be praise for Krishna. Vachalam can mean having ability in speaking. He was like an innocent child. Balisham, since Vishwaprakash says the word can also mean a child, not just a fool. Agnyam can mean having all knowledge. We've already heard about this. Panditamaninam can mean that he's respected by all the people as having knowledge, who have knowledge of Brahman. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur adds to this, and now I'm going to close. Indra said Krishna is ever talkative, Vachalam, speaking many audacious arguments in the line of Karma Mimamsa and Sankhya philosophy, even though he does not accept these arguments. Thus he is balisha, foolish. It's stated in many places that, for example, Chanakya Kautilya, he's like Tiruvalluvar in the north. He said, Atmavan manyate jagat. However you are yourself, that you see the whole world. If you're envious, then you're going to see everybody else is envious, right? So next time you see some flaws in some devotee, you can give it some further thought. Not partial thought, further thought. Go deeper. Prabhupada said we should always be deep water fish. Whatever you do, you dive deep into it. Then you get realization. If you stay on the surface, like the little fishies in Marina Beach, what happens? It's nice warm water up there, and there's lots of interesting things up there looking, but the pelicans can see very clearly, and they dive down and one bite, gone, instant snack. So we can be like that if we're just kind of wading our feet in the ocean of Bhakti Rasamrita. Then, any minute we can be taken away by a big wave, tsunami, or, by some creature. Rup Goswami in Padyavali says, like Timingila fish in the ocean, they can eat you if you're not very carefully. But if you go deep, then you're safe. Always go deep. So Indra thinks that he's stabda, disrespectful, because he speaks boldly even in the presence of his own father. Because he's ignorant, anyam, all he can do is herd cows. It's like, if the person is not the brightest bulb in the chandelier, what do they do with him? They make him a security guard. So Indra is thinking Krishna is like this. He thinks he's a learned man. Although I'm a demigod, they neglect me to honor him, a mere human being. Thus they've offended me. This is how stupid he is at the moment. We can all become stupid sometimes, right? We can all do stupid things momentarily, and we do. So this is Indra's bad day. We'll see what happens in coming verses and chapters, even it goes on for at least 2 chapters. Through the insults of Indra, the goddess Saraswati is actually praising Krishna thus: he's a fool. Balisha means he's expert in speaking, Vachalam. Or, by Krishna's mercy, even a fool becomes expert in speaking. That's what it says. So you can be empowered. That's why we sing, Mukam karoti vachalam. This is exactly what the intent is. Even a deaf-mute person can speak eloquently by divine grace. Stabdha means that Krishna bows down to no one because there's no one for him to offer homage to. Agnya means that there's nothing more for Krishna to know because he's omniscient already. And Panditamanam means Krishna is highly honored by the knowers of the absolute truth, the real Pandits. Pandita Samadarshana. We've already explained that. Sama, what it means. So we'll stop here. Theek now, Bajay. Anyone have any questions or comments? Yes.
Remember, Hiranyaksha was chastising Varan. The same word used Akuna.
Yeah.
The same.
Yeah.
So many other words used.
Yeah, it happens regularly throughout the Bhagavatam. Many places we can see the Saraswati just makes the demons twist their intelligence because she's so much smarter than everyone. So she can switch it around so the devotees develop some happiness. Yesterday I was noting in text 3, not yesterday, day before, the word was used Srimad Mahatmyanam Dvanvaikyam. This is Vangshidhara's commentary. Normally, Srimad Mahatmyam, according to Indra at least, means they're puffed up by the glory of their opulence. Srimad Mahatmyam. That's glossed by Viragavacharya. Srimadasya dhanasampatti kratasya mahatmyam vaibhavam aho ashcharyakaram tadeva darshayati. He's showing here by these words that it's a wonderful thing that they have this great opulence or glory of wealth, money and sampati. What do we call it here? Selvam. Tangamaligai. Selvaratnam. Sarvana Selvaratnam. So, Srimada means intoxication from from opulence, money in particular. But if you take Shri as a qualifier for the whole compound, Srimada Mahatmyam, then it makes divine the glory of their mother. The pride of the Brajavasis is that we have Krishna. That's why they're so, as Indra thinks, arrogant. That's why they're so confident of what they're doing, because they know who Krishna is. So when I read this verses, looking at this passage, that's the first thing that struck me. It can be turned around like that also. I don't know, maybe some commentator already did that, but it's not Viragavacharya. All right, any other questions or comments?
We had a question a few days ago in Bhagavatam class, how to actually understand this, that Brahma, Indra, big demigods like this, they got bewildered. Is it because of Krishna Lila, or some of the jivas, when they come to that post, they got bewildered? Madhvas are kind of very careful not to speak on that.
They have a different theology.
Yeah.
Well, Krishna says the intelligence in the mode of passion sees a different kind of living entity due to the different kinds of bodies. And this is our tendency. When we look at a big demigod, we think that he's actually a big person. Actually, he's just a jiva like us. He's got some big karma, no doubt. But they're just jivas. And they're fallible jivas. They fall down. They take birth for some time and they can be Indra or whatever. But, they're just jivas like us. This is the thing we have to remember. So they can become bewildered. They do. And another thing is that no matter how much intelligence you have, No matter how much money you have, how much beauty you have, sooner or later you're going to blow it, because that's the way material existence is. We make mistakes, we have imperfect senses, we have a cheating propensity. What's the other one? We become illusioned. So this is just, for a devotee who keeps this intelligence by hearing, yatha dhitam yatha matihi, he doesn't get confused. We get confused because we become overwhelmed, swallowed up by passion or ignorance, and then we see everything wrong. Everything wrong. Viparita, Krishna says in chapter 16, I think it is, or maybe it's chapter 18. Always driving in the wrong direction. English poet T.S. Eliot, he said, not English, he's actually American, but he moved to England. He said, from wrong to wrong, the exasperated spirit proceeds until redeemed by some refining fire. This is life in tamoguna. Anything you try to do, it's just the wrong thing. How so? Adharmam dharmamitiya. The intelligence of a person in tamogun, he thinks that dharma is adharma, and he thinks that adharma is dharma. Exactly the wrong thing, 100% inverse, perverse. And a passionate person is a little better, but he's still bewildered. He thinks everything's, it's all just very confusing. It's like a dust storm. Only the devotee who is in sattva guna, which means only a sincere devotee, can see things clearly. We get overwhelmed, just like Indra becomes overwhelmed. Just like that. That's the answer to your question. Is it comforting? Jayadvaita Swami said, preaching means to comfort the distressed and distress the comfortable. Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
This analogy that you gave about this pelican bird coming and then picking up the fish on the surface is really amazing, Prabhu. We don't have experience here. Maybe, I don't know, in the US or on the other oceans.
No, they're here. I see them. We saw it happen in Tiruchendur, walking along the beach. The pelican comes down, and he comes back up. His whole beak is like swollen because there's a dying fish in there. One trying to figure out what happened. There are many people. They come, they live, they go. They don't even know what happened the whole time. Taking birth, they're bewildered. Living, they're bewildered. Dying, they're bewildered. This is life in tamoguna, and it's a wasted human life. So what are we doing about that? We have to help people come out. We have to give them Srila Prabhupada's books, which means you have to read them yourselves. Prabhupada always criticized his own disciples for this reason. You think my books are only for selling. He worked so hard to write these books, and we just leave them as it is. So, yeah, it's a very apt analogy. It's real life. I mean, this is what happens. And we're no better than those stupid fish if we're just neglecting all these transcendental knowledge that we've been given for free. How often does that happen, especially in Kali Yuga? Basically never. Have to be grateful. One thing that is very appreciable about Radhanath Swami, he always emphasizes this point, gratitude. It's such an important, precursor to serious practice of Krishna consciousness. You have to be grateful for what you have to see what you've been given in order to be grateful. Yes, Srinivas Krishna.
You were speaking about we have to be careful in our speech, and one side you were also telling about humility, and also sometimes we see that there are senior Prabhupada disciples or somebody getting deviated from Prabhupada's teachings, and we see our spiritual master speaks against those things, and sometimes we have to repeat them. So what should be our mood? Because in Achar we are way below than our seniors.
We cannot criticize the God brothers of our spiritual master. We can take lessons from Srila Prabhupada about their character, about their illusions, about whatever it is, but we should be very careful to remain always respectful. I mean, I have god brothers who fell away only because they were not careful about this. And they had valid reason, according to Srila Prabhupada, for criticizing his god brothers. But Prabhupada never gave them permission to do that. And it's the same with each generation. Same etiquette is always there. We have to be a little careful. We should be open eyes, and the eyes are opened by whom? Ajnana timirantasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshur militam yena tasmai. So then, we should be open eyes and see everything, but we have to be very careful not to commit maryada vyatikrama. That means overstepping your authority. In fact, this is a very serious problem. It happens. Adhikaru ulanghana and maryada vyatikrama, these two offenses. Adhikaru ulanghana means you assume that you have greater adhikar than you actually do. And so, that eventually you will fall down from that. And maryada vyatikrama, also you will fall down because you will become over-familiar and commit offenses. So we have to be a little careful. But we should see very clearly. And that's automatic. Actually, if you're listening at Guru Puja, and pay attention when we sing Guru Mukha Padmavakya Chiteti Koryaikya Arana Koryamani Asha. We discussed last night also. That's why I said each line you have to go deep into it. Deep, really deep. It just keeps getting deeper. Is that okay? So we work at it. But we always have to be careful. Are you way in the back? I can't see you because my eyes are rotting. Gorbawan? Sorry.
Prabhu, whenever we come across this particular pastime, actually when I read this pastime, every time I have this question in my mind, that in this particular pastime, why Krishna did not kill Indra? Because there were many pastimes.
He's a devotee, he's not a demon. He's a devotee.
Yes, but the activity which he has performed is kind of demoniac.
Very sinful, very offensive. He's offending Vrajvasis. That's why Krishna humiliated him so much.
And even though
just because he's acting, we do rascal things also. Why doesn't Krishna kill us? No, this is the logic. He's a Sakama devotee. We're also Sakama devotees, half of us. So. Have to be a little, live and let live attitude. Because if we, Prabhupada said we should be very harsh on ourselves and very lenient with others. We tend to be inverse of that, which is tamoguna. Very harsh on other people, but no, Krishna's going to be kind to me, but he should smash Indra. Am I answering your question? Anything else? Sometimes I have so much fun with the questions people are afraid to ask. Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.